What is up, LudyBros Army? It's your boy, Big Bro Lamar Ludy, sitting down to talk some NBA basketball today. And of course, I'm going to focus in on my team, the Boston Celtics. Before we get into the video, if you haven't had a chance, please go down, help the channel out, hit that subscribe button, and turn the notification bell on so that you can be notified whenever we drop some fresh new content for you guys. Please help the channel out and do those things. And now we can go ahead and dive into the content of this video today. We're talking about the Boston Celtics and their recent 3-game winning streak. It looks like they're starting to put some stuff together, and it looks like they might be figuring some things out. So I wanted to take a little look at that in this video. Now, in my personal opinion, the Celtics, they did have good things. They had some really good things happening here. Most notably was the showing out and the appearance of Kemba Walker, as he's finally starting to look like he's rounding into form. His jumper is looking more and more fluid. His knees look like they're no longer bothering him the way that they were. When you're that height on the basketball court in the NBA, you have to be able to provide something. And he doesn't provide much on the defensive end. Let's be honest, Kemba Walker is not a defensive stopper by any means. But what he does do is he's able to put a lot of pressure on opposing defenses with his quickness and with his touch. Now, these last 3 games, it's no shocker that he's been able to put up some really nice numbers in these last 3 games where they've been able to put together some wins. But is that going to continue? That's my question as we're here at the All-Star break, coming into All-Star break weekend. That's going to be my question for the Boston Celtics and for Kemba Walker going forward. Is his body going to be able to hold up to the pressure and help the Boston Celtics reach the goals of what they're trying to accomplish, at least getting into the NBA Finals? So while it is a relief to see Kemba Walker playing this way, playing much more freely, he's got his smile going and he's coming in and he's producing. My concern going forward is he going to be able to keep this up, and is his body going to hold up? Now, I hope the answer to that is yes, but time will tell. As this season continues to unfold, time is going to tell if he's going to be able to carry the weight of being one of the top options for the Boston Celtics, who, as of last year, they were really a contender for the NBA crown, but this year have fallen off. They're at a 500 record. This is really concerning. Now, looking at the team and the way that they're currently constructed, there are some questions with the way the roster is utilized. And one of my main concerns, I touched on it in a previous video, is Brad Stevens. I'm very concerned with the roster that he uses to close games out. In recent games, we've seen Jimmy Ojale being on the court alongside Daniel Tice, with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Kemba Walker to close things out. I know that Marcus Smart is hurt. This is one of the big things, and it's going to be another point that's going to be brought up later in this video. But the thing is that, and it showed this last game against the Clippers, Robert Williams III is an athletic monster who needs to start. There has to be a roster change. Brad Stevens needs to change the way he's utilizing his roster. You got to get more athletic. You've got to get some length. You have to sacrifice Tice's shooting, which Tice is shooting at, I believe, 39% at the time that I'm sitting down to record this. I believe he's shooting a pretty high percentage for a big man, especially for a big man. But you're going to have to change that. You're going to have to get some explosiveness to go alongside with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I know that coming off the bench, Peyton Pritchard and Robert Williams, they seem to have a nice little connection going. But the thing is that with Robert Williams' natural athleticism, he's going to be able to get that connection going with just about anybody, any of the guards on the Celtics. He rolls to the basket very well. He grabs offensive rebounds, and he finishes with authority from high above the rim. You have to have that going forward, especially with other teams that have a center like Joel Embiid. The Sixers are playing very well, and Joel Embiid is, he's a monster. You can't be so small. If you're planning to come out of the Eastern Conference, you're not going to be able to be so small if you match up with the Sixers, and you're going to need somebody who can get inside and cause some havoc. Bam Adebayo, last year in the playoffs, he was a big problem for the Boston Celtics and for Daniel Tice. Now, we went out, we got Tristan Thompson, who's a rebounding monster, and he's also very physical on the inside. I like what Thompson has brought to the table for our team, but Robert Williams is my option for starting center, and I really do think if you move Tice to the bench and you bring in Robert Williams III to start, I think that's going to really help the Boston Celtics in this second half of the season. Now, that, being the issue, looking at Marcus Smart's injury, that calf injury that he suffered, I'm not fooled into believing that we're a 500 team, because we're really not. When you take away a team's defensive anchor and their heart, these players have different roles on their team. When you take away the defensive anchor, which is what's happened here to the Boston Celtics, you are going to tailspin. And not only is he the defensive anchor, but he's also, I'm going to say that Marcus Smart is the heart of this team, and maybe the defensive leader. When you take that away from a team, they're going to struggle. And we see Boston Celtics, they don't have the same defensive identity that they've had in previous years. And I'm going to attribute a lot of that to Marcus Smart not being available. When we get him back, that's going to make a huge difference. It's going to be able to, I think it's going to put us on the right track defensively on that end of the floor. He also provides another ball handler that this team desperately needs, somebody who can create their own shot and somebody who has a knack for just hitting big time shots. Don't count out the Boston Celtics. Don't be fooled by their record right now at this time, because they're missing an integral part of their team, and that's Marcus Smart. Now, how far can we go? After this first half of the season, I'm not really touching on Tatum and Brown. I believe those two are going to be able to step up when need be. I touched on this next point in a previous video, and that's Brad Stevens. My main concern, it's not Kemba Walker, even though we touched on him earlier. My main concern is Brad Stevens. What kind of lineups is he going to use? Is he going to be able to make the appropriate coaching adjustments when the going gets hard? That's what's going to be the difference maker for the Boston Celtics coming into the second half of the season and then hopefully into the playoffs. I believe talent-wise, they're going to be just fine. Getting Marcus Smart back is going to answer a lot of issues. It's going to be like a jolt of adrenaline for the team. He's going to come in and I'm sure, be able to put everybody back into their positions that they're supposed to play. But the thing is going with lineups that just are not working or refusing to make adjustments. That's what Brad Stevens has been doing. And, that could really be what kills us. And I'm going to say this, after this season, this is going to be Brad Stevens' 9th season in Boston. He was hired as the coach right after Doc Rivers in kind of a rebuilding period. Well, you know what? We're no longer trying to rebuild. Now we're trying to get over the hump. If we can't get over the hump this year, I think it's time for a coaching change. I think it's time to get rid of Stevens, and it's time to bring in somebody who can get us over the hump. Because as far as talent goes, the Celtics have a very talented roster. There is some depth on the team when you start looking at guys who are coming off the bench. Like I said, Robert Williams III is coming off the bench. Peyton Pritchard has been a very nice surprise, and he's coming off the bench. You also have T coming off the bench, and he's a solid former All-Star. You have these pieces that are coming off the bench, which I think is better than last year's version of the bench, which was Brad Wanamaker. But we really need the right coach to put this all together and to get the Celtics over the hump and hopefully into the NBA Finals and into title contention. But what do you guys think? How have you guys felt the Celtics have done in this first half of the season? Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think, if the Celtics are a team that you think could contend for a title. And if not, let me know who you think could contend so I could sit down and do a video on them and how they are so far in this first half of the season. All right, well, thank you guys for tuning into this video, checking out my thoughts on the Boston Celtics and what I think of their recent 3-game winning streak. And please hit that notification bell so that way you can be notified whenever we have some new content that drops. And I'll see you guys in the next video.